I was so heartbroken when I discovered that one of the biggest human exploitation trading locations in this country was only 20 minutes from where I lived, just a few miles away. And you may think that this is in some far-off place, overseas or in a developing country, but it's not.
When you come to a country like the UK, you don't think the level of poverty that the country has.
The majority of population don't have an idea about what's happening in UK at the moment.
Sometimes we think that countries like UK, there is no trafficking. And that's actually is a big lie.
My name is Ava, and this is Hakel and Jan Marin. Our goal is not just to learn about human trafficking, but to discover the harsh reality of human exploitation in this country.
So when we talk about human trafficking, people just link that to kidnapping and coming to another country or going to another country and being held captive in a place or something like that. No, it happens inside of the country as well. Young people from vulnerable areas, they're in the top of the list for counting lines, for drugs.
Human exploitation is really symptomatic of a deeper problem that we all have in our society. And it's really based on greed and consumerism and wanting to get more for less. And that can be very infectious, and we're all vulnerable to that. We are contributing to a culture that is treating people as commodities.
As I was reading, trying to understand the trafficking in UK, is through another organization, a statistic that is 26% of the trafficked people in the UK are actually national. Happen in the school, happen in the community you go.
Specifically in this generation, is people spend so much time on their phones that they don't look around. So everyone is worried about being beautiful, going to the salons and get their nails done, but they never look around. They never look who is serving them.
And it can happen within almost every sector of society. On some level or another, you can have people being exploited, and sometimes the ways that happens can be quite subtle.
When you go for a service, you go wash your car, and someone wash your car for £5, you find, well, that's really nice. And they do a very good service for £5 or £7. We need to stop and ask why they are doing that for such a small amount of money.
If you are on a place that don't accept card, normally all they want is cash. Something's already wrong.
The Just Good Work app was really about empowering individuals at grassroots from the very first mile of their journey to a job to give them information as to what their rights and responsibilities are throughout every stage of that process, but also to be able to access help if they needed it.
When Fragile was actually conceived in our heart and mind, something fragile you think is breakable, but it's because it's priceless.
So I think one of the things with Fragile is to work and to bring the awareness for the community. It can happen close to you.
We all knew human trafficking was a massive injustice in today's world. We knew the weight of it was more than we could imagine, but we weren't prepared for the reality that we found.
The sex industry is very strong in UK. This is a very rich country and a very well-educated country, but it is happening. And sometimes it happened because it's hard to say, but we allowed to. It's something that it's a very dark side of the human beings. They end up in UK, and then once they're here, their passports are taken, they have nowhere to go. A young woman will be kept inside of a house without seeing the daylight for months sometimes. And someone will open the door, and they will hear the door, and then they will know someone is coming to have sex with them. And they've been used over and over and over for several times a day. I was on frontline policing, so I was in uniform. And part of one operation that we did locally on the area that I used to work to prevent human trafficking, one lady opened the door. She said in a language that I understood, she said to the other girl, if you open your mouth, you're dead. I just kept asking questions in English, saying, can I just come in? Can I just talk to you? Once I came inside, I was desperate to find a way to speak to that young girl. But I found that the other lady, she wouldn't let me be alone with her. I was really nervous in that situation because I could see a lot of CCTV inside of the house. I managed to get inside of one of the rooms with the girl, and I spoke on her language, and I say, you need help. I'm here to help. I can take you out of here today. And she was like, yeah, but then that's no hope for me if I come out from here. And then what broke my heart, it was that she said, I will help you because I know there are so many girls that will be saved. Even if I don't, you're gonna be able to have a lot of information. I don't mind how I'm gonna end up. She gave me her phone with lots of evidences on it. We were able to make an arrest for that lady on that day. This young girl, she gave me one address and she said, this is my real address, please drive me there. I drove her there. I took her contact number and everything, and then I was sure she would be there on the next day. Early in the morning, next shift, I drove there first thing in the morning to make sure she was safe and well. And she wasn't there. I wasn't able to locate her because of her. We were able to map over 3,000 people, and lots of brothels were found, a lot of girls were found. I want to believe that she made it through. She's safe. Every time I pass that road, I can't forget how scared she was, and they need help. They really need help.
There's something called grooming gangs. These group of people, they are normally around to try to gain the trust of the kids and the young people, and then they start to buy them stuff. They engage in a relationship. They start to use them for whatever they want. They make them to get in sexual relationship with other men and in groups, and they rape and they exploit the girls. The parents sometimes can't find them. It's really bad. They used to name them as child prostitution, what they can't say anymore, because they are kids. They are being trapped.
One of the main things that actually made us to stop, and thinking, okay, what should we do?
In terms of actually being, I'm a trafficking victim, people don't tend to talk about that explicitly. So you might pick up little clues and little hints to whether that has been in somebody's past.
So they can appear to be free, they leave the house, they come home, they're able to shop for food, etc. But all the financial control, all the coercion, all the systems are there to keep them from being able to walk away from the situation that they're in. So training people in every sector of society, and for the general public to just keep their eyes open and know what to look for.
If you go there and you see they are working quite loads of hours, that is not something like normal. That the load of hours shows something is wrong. You can see signs on the hands of abuse, of exploitation.
You can be involved. What can you do? You don't have to do with Fragile. You can do your own, you can mobilize your community. As you know, because knowledge is responsibility. So to know that, what can you do? You can have a conversation around the table. You can say, I would like to be a champion, to combat human trafficking. And I cannot go to this place. I cannot do rescue or restoration thing, but I can be a voice.
Learning the truth about human exploitation in the UK was not only shocking but also discouraging. After hearing so many stories filled with sadness and pain, we began to look for what could be one of the solutions, starting with prevention. But even then we asked ourselves, is there any hope?
So for most people who find themselves in situations of human exploitation or the extreme end of modern slavery, being able to name it is really important.
Building trust just comes through listening. It comes through validating their experience. When people begin to tell their stories are precious to me.
So people think, oh, there's no hope with that, but there is. If there is a change of mentality where we look after each other, where we have a community that cares, that makes it difficult for traffickers. If we care, if we look after people, if we talk, if we interact, if we ask the right questions, we will notice when something is wrong. And traffic is not going to be able to grow in places like that.
Like, I see people as sacred. So we don't see it just as like something that just born and go without a purpose.
Everyone has dignity. It's one of the things that Fragile does. Once we recognize who people are, they were created with dignity. When you see that, when you look at that, there is transformation. People were not created to starve. People were not created to be exploited. People were not created to be treated as trash. People were created to be treated with dignity.
And after all we saw, all we heard, yes, we know there is a problem in this country. But we also got so inspired by these people we met, who saved people, who helped them, who helped to prevent, to care, to teach what matters. And yes, there is hope.